Hi, today I'm going to try to explain what's going on in the politics of Brazil. Like you can see, I don't speak English very well because I am from Brazil, and this is actually my first trying to talk in English. So, here in Brazil, we are actually living some kind of Cold War. We had this danger of communism, and we had our dictatorship not from communism, but to stop it, to avoid it. It was a military regime, and we got really bad situations. There was like torture, there was like killings, obviously some rights were not in there. We lost human rights in that time, and that was about the 80s. So we got really, really bad in what we did. We got really a bad situation and a bad humor about what we did. We got sad about it. So when this regime ended, we kind of think, well, communism, it should not be so bad as it was this regime. And there's the problem. We had one stealer of banks, Dilma Rousseff, and we had this guy Lula, and he was one of the guys that was a communist, and he didn't like capitalism, but he got right. He changed it, let's say like this. And then he was okay enough, and we voted him, and then he said to we vote for her, and voted for her, and the country looked that was alright, but then we had this thing, the police, the cops, they were finding this bad stuff, this corruption in our system, and they call it this operation of Lava Jato. That means like dirt wash, car washing, but is something like fast, something like we do it, we wash it, and we do it fast. And this was the name of a crime operation that was occurring in the politics, the Congress, and we had it, and a lot of people of the this worker party that we call it PT, that is the party of the Lula. They were in the scheme, a lot of them, but we did not have exactly that proof it was him or her. And then he got it away, and then her got it voted and re-elected, but it was for a little in the elections. And then we was kind of, we know you're stealing from us, but you know, you give money for the poor, they do it a little. It's called family bag, something like that, or family fund. We call it Bolsa Familia, which means something like that. It's like the money goes to the family. It's like 100 reais, that is today like $30, something like that. It's not much. It's ridiculous, but we had these programs, social programs, and we never had something like that, and we never had this feeling of giving to the poor. Our democracy is very young because of what I said, and then we just let it go for too long. But we were full because the things were appearing in one corruption after another, and in the end Lula was involved in some schemes, and we like, oh no, what we have done. And then Dilma was taken off, we call it impeachment, was taken off, and they said it was like again the dictatorship is like, we call it a golpe, one scheme, one, I don't know the word, when you take off one person from the rightful place or something like that. Like, it wasn't fair, they say. They say until today. And we kinda had it because the people really wanted it to go away. But we didn't vote it right. We voted for them. And then there is this situation when more and more we learn on the internet about communism, and that our dictatorship wasn't really that bad. A little people were killed, but not that much. There was something wrong, but if you study the communism, it was real bad, real worse. So then the militaries, they got to be our heroes now. Then we now have this guy, the Bolsonaro. We call it Bolsonaro, sem sotaque, without accent. And we kind of like of him because he say things like, bad people should be on jail and it's done. It should be, and it's okay. He's kind of rude and a lot of that. And he's a little too much. We know it. Like he said, torture, like hurting people. The mistake was that the cops did that and did not kill the person they did that. So people are kind of, you know, he's crazy. He's Hitler. He's going to make the Congress be closed. He's going to destroy democracy again. And this is the militaries getting on to power again. And that's kind of real threat because he's a radical. The extreme right from us is a little extreme, is a little shocking. And we kind of have this because we got a mistake going to the left, and we are kind of now like, he's against PT, he's against PT. He's against Lula. Lula is in jail. He tried so much to not be in. He tried to get on a ministry. So if you are on this public position, you can't go in jail. If you are president, you can't go in jail because only a special judges can judge you. Only then, and you decide who is them. The president decide who is the people that will judge the political party. So it's crazy, and we know it, but we can't vote it for anyone to change it because we trying to vote it and vote it and vote it, and doesn't change much. So we're kind of stuck in this, and we had this Bolsonaro, and he got in a fight, discussion with one person that defended human rights, and there was this rapist, this young person, and she was like defending him, and this guy was like getting down the punishment uh, line to we could punish someone of his age. I I really could speak in Portuguese and this would go very well. So if you think I don't speak English, you're right. Okay. Well, so then he got into discussion and she called it a rapist. And he said like, well, you don't need to worry. You don't even deserve to be raped. And she, oh, anti-media, oh, and stuff like that happens to him all the time. He says something that is kind of shocking, like the bandits should be, I don't use that word, but it's the word you have in there. And the end, and they, oh, and then he's always says something that is not very polite, and he uses this gesture. It's a gun, and somehow was his fault that he got a knife on his belly because someone attacked him. And the fact is, it was a communist. We have this communism really strong here, so we are kinda still in the Cold War. So we are kinda repeating the act of trying to avoid communism, trying to avoid being a Venezuela by putting someone that's a military that likes torture, that is radical, that is pro guns and stuff like that. That in Brazil we don't have that. In the United States you can buy a gun very easily. Here you can't, but that only means that the bad guys have it and people doesn't. And actually many people die here because of that. So it's very criminal here, and we are kind of full. We are tired and we want change. So if you think that guy we are voting now, and believe me, he is going to be voted, he is going to be the president, is because of that. And if you think, well, he's not what they say, well, it's a little of both. It's not like he's the more sane person of Earth. He isn't. But it's not like he's like everything that the media is going to say it, it's the truth. It's not. They are trying everything to getting out because the media is leftists. They are on the left, and our left is really, really, really dishonest. And we are kind of voting this guy that is like the only one. He's also one that is not much in favor of the gays thing, that the PT, they had this thing to put on school some teachings of gayism, and we didn't like it. They had this thing about abortion, he's against it. So we have these values, this Christianity, and there are not many persons that represent that. So we are kind of full of criminals, full of this workers' party, and we are kind of saying like this, well, we can take the militaries, but not you corrupt politics. And Lula, you are going to jail, still you stay in jail, you are not voting on this political Haddad that is going to represent you, because Lula was trying to get voted even in jail, and we just created a law for forbidding that. This is crazy. He's on jail for corruption, and he was like, well, I am going to be the president. I am going to rule this country. And he still had some votes. He is a strong man in politics. But here we are kinda full. So that's why this mess on our country, this attack on Bolsonaro, they are trying really to kill him, and they are trying to stop the right, and they have these reasons. Some of them are reasonable because he is strange, like the militaries did actually in some bad ways here in Brazil, but now on the internet we created this guy, we created this man to be the anti-workers party, and he's going to be the president, and we hope that he doesn't close the Congress. We hate the Congress so much. In Brazil, we have the worst politicians ever. We feel like we just Brazil will just hate politics. They hate it so much, so much. They hate politicians so much that if they could, maybe they could kill them. A lot of them, because they hate it. And this guy was the only guy that could walk on the street and be carried from the people, and someone did that with him. So he's got he's got to be elected. He's going to be elected, and God help us, because we are like not voting for Voldemort. We are like voting for Vader because he's not so bad as Voldemort. And please don't close the Republic. Please just be normal. we have you. So that's what we are hoping. We are hoping that Brazil could change it a lot, because there was so many years that the PT stolen from us and helped Venezuela, and they still say, well, that's a democracy. And we kind of are getting like, it isn't. If you think that that is what you are going to do with us. And they got so much money from us. They stolen so much that, the House of Cards, there's nothing on that serious. We have the politicians that you need to study. The politician that knows how to keep in power. They do everything that you can imagine. They are professionals. The media is on it, and we can't change it. It's very hard, really, really, really hard. Like this, we voted on a clown, literally. It's called Chiririca, and he said, "Worse than is it can be," and we voted him for that. Then he got to be like, "You politicians should be ashamed. I'm getting out of here." And then he's again here and saying like, "I tricked you. I'm going back there. I tricked you. Vote for me. Vote for me." And we have these politicians. We can vote, and we must vote. So we have these politicians that are just jokes. We have a dwarf that said, "I will get out of poverty," like me, not you, me, of course. And this, I am the smallest of evil, and we probably can vote for it. So in Brazil, we now have a democracy, and we are kind of wishing we could vote in someone that is good, but we can't find it. And if we find it, he must be some guy that is like rude like us, that's fool like us, and that hate the the robbers, the, the criminal class. So we are kind of radicals right now, and we are going to vote for him. And God help us. So if you like it of this information, please forgive me for my English. Man, this is really hard to speak. And please correct me if you can in some years. I need to this good, get good at this. So please try to talk with me and ask any questions if you want. And see you later.